Fine, thank you. Alhamdulillah. Good afternoon, colleagues. Just we will wait for a couple of minutes before our start, just to let participants to join the webinar. Good evening, Nori Pam. I hope I'm saying the name right. Good evening, Anina. حياك الله محمد الشواخ. Good evening, Mustafa, Lilian. Good evening, all. Amreen also. Good evening. Good, you will see the translation link and code here to use it for the translation purposes. إذا حدا حاب يستخدم الترجمة موجود الرابط والكود الدخول. We'll talk about this, إن شاء الله soon. I think we can start, Dr. Ghanem. What do you think?
I think yes, you can start now. It is 5:05, so.
So fine. Then the rest will join us, and we'll do some summaries in between. Good evening, colleagues. It's a pleasure to have you all. Today is our third module in the school counselor readiness for change. And by the way, we put this title in a purpose because in this coming years, the education system and all education environment will not be anymore like the previous era. So we are in a new era. It requires a lot of work from us, require different competences, different group interdisciplinary approach that benefit our students. Let me start sharing my presentation. I hope you are able to see it. Right, Dr. Ghanem?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So again, it's welcome to have you all. Just to highlight some part before starting introducing Dr. Ghanem Al-Bustami and myself, because we will be running the workshop today, and I hope you will enjoy this workshop like the previous ones. This is the third one, and we are having the fourth one, inshallah, tomorrow. Highlighting something as I saw on the chat about the certificate and the portal. For EDU community portal, there's the steps that you have to follow. It's a simple steps. I uploaded the Word document. You can just download it and follow the step there. There is a link. When you register, you need to use your email that you registered with in this webinar, and then follow the steps. It will give you next, and then you will be registered and having an access to videos, learning materials, recorded sessions, certificate, both attendance and completion certificate, which I will talk about them in a minute, and also other information related to those four modules. For the certificate, we have two types of certificate for our professional development certificates, all of them. Completion or certificate of completion and certificate of attendance. For certificate of completion, you need to submit a reflection. There is an assignment. I send it to the team. It will be uploaded today, inshallah. There is a research paper. You need to do a reflection about it. And there is one question from general perspective about counseling and counselor role in the school. The deadline for that is 8th of July. The maximum number of words should be 1,000 words. Less than this will be acceptable. Any format that you prefer to submit it, it's fine, Word or PDF file. The important thing is to write your name and submit it under the submission tab. The certificate of attendance, if you don't want to get the certificate of completion and you don't want to send your reflection on the tasks, you can get the certificate of attendance only. Wishing you all the best, and I hope those are clear. During, again, today and tomorrow, I will be posting and uploading on the chat box, again, how you can reach to the EDU community. If there's any question, please, you can communicate with us, or you can communicate directly with the email that you received for confirmation on this certificate. I think all of you receive an email from Mr. Anand. So just reply to this asking about the process, and we will provide you with the needed support. Our third module is about behavior and academic challenges among students. And I believe this is like our role as an educator, regardless of our career, if we are principals or teachers or social worker or school counselor. It's our job to maintain the positive behavioral and academic environment in our schools. It's as I said, it's part of the school counselor readiness for change professional development certificate, and this will be run in collaboration with Dr. Ghanem Al-Bustami and myself. Dr. Ghanem is a professor of developmental and educational psychology. He worked at Abu Dhabi University Education Department for more than 15 years. I'm Mohammed Fteh, the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at College of Arts and Science and Associate Professor of Special Education. It's our pleasure to be with you today. And those are the main things that we need to share with you before we start. If you want to use the comment option, you are welcome. We will be following those comments and try to answer if there is any specific concern or comment. If you want to ask any specific questions, please post it on the Q&A, which will make it easy for us to follow those questions and answer them. In case we will have some engagement activity, and we will ask you to participate in this. So please raise your hand if you want to speak. Our IT technician will allow you to speak, and then what you need to do, and sorry, maybe there are some technical issues happened yesterday. I don't know if it's from our side or from your end, but what you need to do, just unmute yourself, and then you will be able to speak. Starting our workshop, Dr. Ghanem, it's with the objectives that we are hoping our colleagues by the end of this workshop, because it's mainly focusing on academic and behavioral challenges issues, Hope you will be able to design a supportive learning environment and effective behavioral management plan and activities for your students. We are looking at it, and I'm sure Dr. Ghanem is with me in this point, from a general perspective, from the whole school perspective. And we believe that this is the right approach. This is the right frame that we need to follow as a school or as an educational system or educational institution. Specify the right to effective behavioral treatment and the right to effective educational implementation, taking in consideration that the proactive activities or strategies that we followed, it's having an important impact on our students' behavioral and academic skills in the future. Developing behavioral evaluation plan, and we will talk mainly about the ABC, antecedents, consequence, and behavior, and we will give some example of those plans. Recognize the importance of response to intervention approach. I am a person, and I'm sure also majority of our colleagues with me, supporting this approach. This approach is showing a lot of success in different countries, in the States, in UK, in Europe. Response to intervention approach is an approach that guarantee a smooth transition for all our students and reducing a lot of behavioral and academic challenges that we are facing. We will explain it in not in detail. We will highlight some main points on it, but in the future, if there is a need, we can do a full professional development certificate on a response to intervention approach. The content of our module will be behavioral and academic challenges, and we will listen to you, want to hear from you. What is these more, the issues that you are facing or the challenges that you are facing as a counselors or as the teachers in your school? Proactive strategies is an important one. And I'm a believer of those proactive management strategies, starting from elementary classes or primary or cycle 1, as whatever you call it in your country, or KG1 and KG2 and grade 1 and the grade 2. Those are the main, this is the base for us. Classroom behavioral strategies and intervention, all it's related to our educational environment that we are having. How we develop the behavioral plan, response to intervention as a framework. It's not a strategy, by the way. We will explain it in detail and talk about it, inshallah. Identify antecedent and consequence-based strategy for reducing unwanted behaviors. We will go through some of those strategies to increase the desired behavior and decrease the undesired behavior based on the behaviorism. Assess and maintain the efficacy of behavior intervention plan. I think this is what we will cover, Dr. Ghanem.
Yes,
any additional point?
Thank you so much. Actually, yes, you give full explanation about what we are going to cover. Let me just start welcoming colleagues here. I'm happy to be with you and with Dr. Muhammad in this session. Agree totally with you, Dr. Muhammad, about the importance of keep in their mind that they are the expert. They are the one we need to learn from them. They are in the field and they are the one able to identify and tell us what are these challenges. Challenges actually about the behavior or about the academic issues they face in order to connect with the new era, as you mentioned, because now we start facing new changes in life, in schooling system and behavior and the way of thinking and many other factors. Actually, I consider myself a counselor, but have no, let me say, right to say or to speak about what counselors can do in the reality, because they are the expert, as I mentioned. They are in the field. They can provide us with what and how they think and come with these challenges. So again, we need to hear from you. One more thing I'd like also to encourage you to keep in your mind. Counselors or teachers or principals or admin in the school, we all team, and we cannot separate between academic performance and behavior. Both complete and support each other. If the student have problem in his performance, this will affect, of course, his or her behavior and reaction. If the teachers have problem with the students, it could be referred to the communication or referred to the environment. So the three important components in our discussion today, how to create this intervention, how to use these strategies based on our understanding, what caused these challenges, what call for these challenges and problems. Then we can work as a team together. Counselor, him or herself alone, cannot work separately. Okay, he needs support from teachers. Teachers also need to understand how to manage these environment and how to use these strategies. I will be happy again if you.
Yes, Dr. Ghanem. So it's the interdisciplinary team that we have to follow. It's not the counselor alone. It's not the teacher alone. Not the social worker alone. Not anyone alone. It's the work of. It's the responsibility of the team. I like the term intersectional disciplinary or interdisciplinary approach, in which all of us we working together.
Yes.
Let's start our work with this question because we need to know you. Who's there? If you are a teacher or counselor or principal or an OD or therapist or other, so please join us on a slide with scanning this QR or going through the ahaslides.com 91U3W. I'll keep it for a while so you will be able to do the scanning and or going to the slide so you will join with us. There is a lot of activities during the session, so I hope that we will have a good number of participants through this approach. You can use your mobile number, your mobile phone or your tab or your computer. Any one of these, it will be fine. So it's ahaslides.com 91U3W, or scan this QR code to join us. The number is increasing. So I will go to the question. Dr. Ghanem, the first question. Are you school counselor, regular class teacher, special educator, therapist, HOD, principal, or other? You can join from the link up.
Great. I see that 100. Yeah.
Good number of school counselors. Yeah,
counselors, great. Yes. The majority are counselors, as you see here.
Others, maybe students or parents or faculty members or instructors. Yeah.
I see here also special educators, and these are really important in all schools. You agree with me?
Yep. Since we are following now the inclusive education philosophy, so having special educator and therapists with us, it's an important, I think, and they will add to.
Therapists are important also because we use them as a referral partner, right?
I'm wishing to see more numbers, Dr. Ghanem. We're only 29 of the attendees, so if there is maybe you have some difficulties with the. Again, I will put the barcode. This is the barcode to make it easy for you. So so the majority of our participants are from the counselor. School count is great. We will work together, our school counselor. So you and also the regular class teachers and special educator, principals, HODs, and others, you are completing the work. You are completing the umbrella of educational institution. Our second question, describe some of the current behavioral challenges in your classroom as a counselor. What you are seeing, what is the main behavioral challenges that you are seeing?
Maybe also, Dr. Muhammad, not in the classroom, in the school in general.
In the school, in the school in general, yeah. Join again. You need to put slides here. You need to type the behavior, bullying, social, emotional, and anxiety, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, hyperactivity again, inattention, virtual platform. Anxiety is taking the big answer, maybe it seems, Dr. Ghanem. Uncertainty, social relationship, And
Friendship also.
Aggression, misbehaving, aggression, social. Again, we mentioned social. So bullying is the main one. Maybe bullying is like verbally or like even physically, maybe. Self-esteem, social engagement. It's an issue again. See that. So social skill issues, hyperactivity again.
Can I say something here just to remind also colleagues, counselors, and others that here what you present to us here mostly refer to the problems or difficulties. The challenges might be also referred, just to remind you about maybe lack of some issues to build the relationship or to serve students or to encourage them to come to counselors, right?
And, but they're good, putting a good challenges almost from recovering social area, behavioral issues. There is some also, I think I saw something, smoking is here, consider an issue with the adolescent maybe and adult. Friendship challenges and unable to do those.
Not following rules, one of these also issues.
Low listening skills, lack of motivation.
Yes, self-confident also important.
I'm just reading the ones which is they wrote already. Triteness, like those can be considered in both virtual and face-to-face activity. Great, good. So let's go to the other question to make it more specific. Thank you, colleagues, to answer those questions. But it seems that we have a lot of those challenging academic and behavioral issues. And I'm hoping, inshallah, by the end of this session, you will find a way or a base to deal with such issue. The third question is, what is the #1 classroom behavior issue that you hope to manage more effectively as a counselor in your school or in your classroom as a teacher? One behavior issue. Again, bullying, it's one of the main issues. Misbehaving, fear to talk, this is an issue. Talking and lack of attention. Bullying, again, increased attention and concentration of the child, great. Lack of interest, skipping classes, respectfulness. Bullying, again, it seems there is an issue with the ADHD. Like this is need a separate professional development certificate, Dunya, but we will cover it. We will be having end of December, inshallah, or mid of December, a workshop about special and inclusive education, and we will talk about the 13 categories of special education and how we deal with the one that mainly in school. Okay, so respect classroom rules. Again, this is an important. Bullying, sustain attention. It's again, it's one of the main important. Lateness and being early, fear to talk, lack of interest, feeling unworthy, grade 0. Attention, lack of motivation, skipping classes, tiredness. Students with low motivation,
social skills also.
Building trust inside the whole school community. This is what we will work on today, my colleagues. We'll try to have it from general perspective, because we need to build a positive behavioral system in our schools, which allow our students to be really and effective citizens in the future. I'm a believer on the role of the school in preparing the students, not only for giving them a knowledge. We are not giving only a knowledge. Knowledge, colleagues, now it's available in the internet, available in the book. But we are building a generation. It's our role as a teacher, as a counselor. Thank you for the great input that you shared with us about these issues. I hope by also again end of this session you will be able to work with such issues and try to reduce them. Behavior is the key for us. Behavior is a functionally related to the teaching environment. Again, if I have a proper teaching environment, I will not be having a lot of issues in my, what we mean by teaching environment, the structure of my educational institution, the classrooms, the school, the entire school system, how we are working together as a teachers and HODs and the counselor. This will reflect positively in the behavior and academic areas of our students. And I agree, Dr. Ghanem is agreeing with me. I'm sure Dr. Ghanem is agreeing with me about the part of environment, because if we develop it in a right way, if we work in a proper way, if we are a model for our students, trust me, we will not be having any issues in the future. If we work from the early stages and we build the capacity and competences, we build the right behaviors, because by the end, behavior is like any other academic, let me say, subjects, and it can be taught. It's not something that the students will deliver with. It's something that we need to monitor. We need to give a reinforcer. We need to build the capacity of the student so he will be able to behave in a right and proper way by the end. Right, Ghanem, I think you are supporting this.
Yes, I agree totally with you. Let me just add one point here that may counselors agree with me that building this environment required from all of us to understand from where our students came, their background, their family process, and we need to collaborate. And this could be the first step to maintain this key, the one you mentioned too. Yeah. I cannot create and support this positive environment isolated from the family and the culture and the community. So the counselor have big responsibility to build this understanding and to share this with the families in order, as you mentioned, at the beginning, creating this sharing and strong environment cooperated between families to support counselors and teachers.
So planning is an important part.
Exactly.
We need to plan. And through our discussion, colleagues, we will share with you some of those ideas, how we should have our plan and monitoring and implementation of those plans. It's an important. I can, as a counselor, initiate the proposal and share it with the team. Again, I don't want you to understand that I'm pushing for response to intervention. It's one of the great frameworks, but you can find another frameworks to follow. We will talk about it. Then if the counselor is happy with such framework, just he need to create an action plan and implementation plan, and then start working on this system or framework with his colleagues. Students' behavior is critical to success in the school. If we have a lot of issues or a lot of behavioral and academic issue, trust me, it will end up with the dropping from the school. Or as you mentioned, all these challenging and behavioral challenges that our students having because of the discipline. Again, I don't want to generalize, but using those behavioral strategies and technique, it should be used in a right and proper way. Discipline sometimes is affecting really our behavior, and maybe it will lead to increasing those undesired behavior and lead to a lot of issues, which sometimes reach to the dropout from the school, unfortunately. So school environment must support appropriate school behavior. If we look at it from general perspective and we create the behavioral supportive system in our schools, it will reflect positively on our students and it will reduce their behavioral issues and challenges. Behavior, it's related to the instructional environment. It's related to the environment that we are in as a teacher or counselor. So the counselor, they play a huge role in that with the support of the teacher. Again, as we said, those are learning skills. So we can work on this together to educate our students on the right behaviors and to reduce all these behavioral issues that they are facing. If we use the proactive strategies, if we start earlier, as they said, always the earlier the better, it will end up with a great outcome for our students. But if Mohammed Ifteha as a teacher following specific approach, and Dr. Ghanem using different approach, and Dr. Nafis using third approach, so surely the students will be confused and we will not be able to cope with those issues, and we will end up with having a lot of behavioral related issues. There's some truth about problem behaviors and also science. Those are like the theoretical background of the behavior, which we said that it's better to share it with you. Maybe some of you are familiar with those truth and sciences behind the behavior, but it's a good also to discuss this together. Problem behavior exists in every school. It's there. And it's not something that we cannot hide. Cannot say that we have a school without any behavior. We are, by the end, we are human. There is different stages that we are going through: adolescent period, transition between classes, transition between stages. All this can create a behavioral issues associated with variety of variables. Teacher's perspective, even personal issues. Sometimes it's involved with the affecting our behavior. Maybe we need to empower our teacher, and this is the responsibility of again, good that we have some few of special educator with us, and also our colleagues from counselor. It's our responsibility to educate the entire school about the behavioral strategies, or how to address severe behavioral problems, bullying, aggression, all these issues. It's not affecting the child himself only, it's affecting the whole school system. So we need to create something clear for all of our students, teachers, counselors, HODs. So all of us, we will talk one language. We will not find a variation or a confusion between what we are saying and what we are looking for. Sometimes we need to create the model, the right model for our students to be able to imitate this model. I'm a believer of Bandura's theory. It's a great theory that we acquired majority of our behaviors by watching others. Yes, we do some balance, and we try to benefit from it, and we change it according to our personality and our understanding. But by the end, it's by observing other students with challenges behavior in school need proactive. You will hear this word from us maybe during the whole session. Proactive strategies. It's an important. If I start my classes, and I'm sure majority of you saw those videos for some of the teachers, how they are welcoming their students from early morning. I'll share with you a personal experience. When I always assure that to send my kids to the school at morning. When they return back, they return with the bus. But that morning, I like to send them there to the school to see their teachers and to see their interaction with their colleagues. One day, I remember the BE teacher, he was just going out from the school, and 3 students enter to the school. He smiles to them only. And when I looked at their face, trust me, I felt that he is making their day with this small smile. So imagine if you are building this relation, which we will talk about it, inshallah, also in a minute in our workshop. The atmosphere is important. If it is a positive atmosphere, it will reflect on our students. I know we have a lot of challenges. We are having a lot of tasks as a teacher. We have a lot of commitments. But trust me, those humanitarian parts or humanitarian parts, it's an important part to build the community and to make our students' life positive one. Science of behavior, Dr. Ghanem, it's like part of also your area. As they said always, we cannot force anyone to change their behavior. We can?
Of course, we cannot force because we believe that our behavior learned by our mean to learn and to act or to behave. There are sometimes some variables, of course, as you mentioned, refer to the rules and refer to the environment, sometimes maybe refer to the ability or the interesting, etc. And the example you give how teachers can encourage students from the early morning every day. Science of behavior actually refers to the way we understand and explain in order to predict. And this is, the main points of any science, especially in the behavior sciences. If we did not understand why we act and behave in this way, we're not able to predict or then to treat or to support or to change. But we believe strongly that everyone can change his or behavior. No fact tells us that it is difficult or impossible. Maybe it is difficult, but not impossible. So I agree with you that yes, if we believe that we can change our thinking, our way of thinking, it means that we can change our behavior. Now, counselors and teachers and all of us need to understand what are the mechanisms lead to develop behavior. Science of behavior means that everything refers to learning. So the way we learn, the way we imitate, the way we socialized, and the way we follow the instruction affect and cause our behavior. If we able to change all these, let me say, errors or difficulties or variables, but by the way, it is easy then to change the behavior and to modify the behavior. Based on this fact, yes, we cannot force, but we cannot encourage, and we cannot even mentally change the behavior.
So our responsibility as the counselors and the teacher to provide the opportunity for behavior to occur. And then we reinforce this behavior or we ignore this behavior if it is undesired. So no one will deliver or born with undesired behavior. Misbehavior, it's a learning error. It means that there is an issue. There's something happened. And later in a minute, we will explain that no behavior will happen without function. There is a function. So to learn better way of behaving, students must be taught the right behavior. And we are the right model for our students.
Yes.
I'll give you an example, Dr. Ghanem. If I late 2 minutes in my class, I think my students will follow me. And the next time, maybe some of them will late 5 or 10 minutes because I did this as a not acceptable behavior or undesired behavior. So they will take me as a model, and they will repeat the same issue, which we need to really try to reduce as much as we can. I'll try to answer some of these questions, Dr. Ghanem, while we are also chatting. Ms. Labiba saying, no, respecting other friends. So this is one of the issues. Thank you, Ms. Labiba. And Mr. Najat is saying that sometimes the missing understood between students and teacher cause, agree with you. It's an issue. Because of that, we need to put rules and common understanding between our students and our teachers to avoid those misunderstandings, to make it clear. If as a teacher, if I create the rules from the beginning, even when I'm talking about the academic part, if I prepare my rubrics in the right way, my assessment in the right and clear way, and I have step-by-step guideline for my students, I will not be having academic issues in the later. I noticed some also points, Dr. Ghanem, on the chat, talking about autism, ADHD, selective mutism, other issues. Those are important issues. As you know, all of you, now we are in an era that we have to include all people of determination in a normal or in a regular schools. It's their right, like other students. It's our responsibility as a teacher or as a counselor or school or social worker to do or special educator. Sorry, I missed the main important persons on this inclusive education philosophy, to do the accommodation and modification and to support the teacher as much as we we can. It's an important part. Behavior is anything.
Because if you allow me, Doctor, just back to the same slide, the last slide, actually, in addition to what you mentioned about the function, there is also one important concept here that all behavior purposed. There is a purpose behind behavior. Counselors and others need also to understand and to estimate what are the purpose, why the student or the child behave in this way.
Which we will talk about it in a minute, Dr. Ghanem, when we talk about the typography and the function of the behavior. So we will cover it in detail with the example. And also, if there is any example from our colleagues, we will be happy to hear from them. I agree with Dr. Omar also that empowering the teacher is an important with the effective strategies to deal with the students in the class. For that, colleagues and Dr. Omar, in our postgraduate diploma program, we are having a course called Special Education, Special and Inclusive Education, in which we provide the teacher with those strategies to support them. We need our teacher to be empowered, as you said, with those behavioral strategies to increase the desired behavior and reduce the undesired behavior. And unfortunately, Dr. Omar, and we saw some of the teachers, I'm not saying that, I'm not generalizing, they are increasing the undesired behavior with the way of dealing with the behavior, unfortunately. Again, it's a matter of understanding those behavior. And as Dr. Ghanem mentioned, the function, if I understand the function of the behavior, how I will solve something without understanding the base of it. If I don't know why he's doing this, and by the way, as a human, all our behavior are for a function. There is a function behind it. We will not do any behavior without any function. And we will talk about some of these functions in the minute, and we will give an example for it. Behavior is the responsibility of all staff in the educational institution, right? Dr. Ghanem, counselor, teacher,
yes,
special educator, even receptionist, even the drivers in the bus. It's our responsibility as a team. And when we identify the behavior, it's anything that we can observe and measure as per the behaviorism. We'll not go deeply through the behaviorism issue. I'm one of the supportive people for this theory. I'm a believer of benefiting from all available theories for the benefit of our students. Again, I agree with you, Dr. Saad, empowering teacher in classroom management, teaching, decision-making is an important part. Otherwise, we will be having an issue. We need them to take lead on this, our teacher, with the support of the counselors and special educator. So when we are looking at the behavior, Dr. Ghanem, we look at two parts. Typography, which is the shape, what's the frequency, the duration, the intensity of that behavior, and then the function, why this behavior is happening, why he's having low attention span, why he's doing bullying for others, why he is knocking the desk, why he's throwing his book, why he's removing his bands, all these issues that we are facing, why he's breaking his pencil. He's breaking it not just for the purpose of breaking the pencil. There's a reason for that. There is a function. All behaviors, as I said, has a function. So we need, as a teacher, as a counselor, it's fine to have, by the way, colleagues, to have someone to be in my class and observe the behavior, because I need to describe the behavior in a right way to be able to understand the function of this behavior. Otherwise, I will not be able to deal with it. Imagine I'll give an example from pure special education area. If I have a child with autism in my class, and unfortunately, I saw this in several classrooms, flapping his hands all the time and jumping, and he's just in the corner, no one is interacting with him. I need to understand why he is flapping his hand, why he's doing this behavior, why he's jumping, why he is sleeping in the class, why his level of attention is low, why his academic achievement is lower than others. Let me share with you one of stories that I have with one of my students who was a teacher, and she was studying the Bachelor of Education, Bachelor of English in Abu Dhabi University several years ago. And I taught them one of the course, which is Foundations of Education. She was telling me that I have students in my class who is really, I don't want to say the word exactly what he said, but let me say that it's almost too lazy, or he's not interacting, and he is not enjoying the classes, and his achievement is low. I told her, Miss, don't blame a student for something out of his hand. It's our responsibility as a teacher. It's our responsibility as a special educator, our responsibility as a counselor. If I don't understand my students in the right way, trust me, I will not be able to deal with his cases at all. So here as an example to understand the difference between typography and function, and then we will have one activity, Dr. Ghanem, for our colleagues to participate in. So throwing a book, it's the typography. When the student's throwing his book, this is a typography. So this is the free, I will look at the shape of the behavior, how many time he throw it, what is the distance or intensity of the maybe throwing is not right behavior for intensity, but again, I need to look at this part. Then the function, is it escape or it's to gain an attention? You want our attention, you want my attention as a teacher. We saw some of the students, they produce some sounds because I'm ignoring them and they want me to be to their side. So I have to take this in my consideration. How to deal with it? This is something else. We will talk about it later. Again, I don't want to reinforce those undesired behavior. I want to reduce what you want. I want to reduce them. I want to increase the desired behavior. So we have 4 functions behind our behavior, Dr. Ghanem, and those are, if you apply any behavior, it will not go out of these 4 areas. The first one is escaping or avoidance. So he's avoiding the demand. He will not do, he don't want to do it. So because of that, he's throwing his book. He don't want to do, or he will go in a tantrum, or he will start screaming, or he will start doing some undesired behavior. The second one is attention. So he's doing it to access the attention of others. And we saw this like with the small kids in KG1, KG2, and also other classes. If a teacher is giving them this attention, the behavior will increase and increase more. This is what we don't want. We want to reduce those undesired behavior. Access to tangible. If he wants to ask for food or for toys, so he will ask for this either verbally or with other means of communication. And the self-stimulatory or the automatic one, which coming under some of the special education categories. And I'll give an example. There is like another explanation from the OT perspective or other perspective. But when a child with autism flapping his hand, this is a self-stimulatory. Or he's feeling that in the enjoyment of that, so he's repeating it. I give an example from the typical persons, Quran, is the smoking. Smoking, yes, for me, consider as an automatic, because he feel, I never smoke. I don't know the feeling of that. But as I heard from my colleagues, they feel that euphoric or they like it. So they repeat this behavior several times. Yes. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, because I don't know about the experience, Dr. Ghanem.
Yes, actually you are right. As you mentioned, typically when anyone behave or do some action, it could be like to stimulate him or herself to show others or to improve something in his mind or to show his or her power or whatever. And by the way, it is almost similar to get attention. He wants to send messages to get attention. I'll do this. What is your reaction? Sometimes it could be referred also to the authority concept. Some students, some children, they want to challenge their teachers by acting in this way or other way. So it is also a message about if they confuse about the authority, or if they are not respected, or they need attention, etc. It is also part of how they express themselves and the needs, which is developmentally process, as you know.
But by the end, Dr. Ghanem, if we don't understand the function,
Yes,
we will not be able to solve it.
of course.
And I agree with the colleagues. They mentioned also some of the ideas and the chat. Still, Mr. Najati, we mentioned that, Mr. Najati, yes, misunderstanding
Yes.
between teacher and students is an important. So we need to build this understanding. Managing your class with heart, a great book, Dr. Omar. Yeah, I agree with you. I hope that all our teachers read this book. It's again, it's how we are looking at the teaching and learning process.
If you allow me, just
yes.
one more important point here, also need to understand the age needs and the developmental needs in each age, in each stage of human development, like in the childhood area, like in the adolescent, teenage, etc. There are some basic and important needs, emotionally, mentally, socially, etc. And you, if you are aware and know about these developmental stages and requests, then you can understand why they behave and how to deal with them.
I agree with you. This is an important part. Thank you, Dr. An. We have here also an activity, please, colleagues. Yes, mashallah, I saw some start already joining it. I will share the code again. This is the QR for the one who wants to mount it. I'm not sure how I can put it as an attachment in the chat, but if someone can, maybe Mr. Ibrahim can do it. I'm not sure. But you can scan it now, or you can, again, please use directly the ahaslides.com 9IU3W and go directly to the website. Join through scanning. It's an easier one, I found it. So we will start our great. MashaAllah, good, but we have a good number.
It's start in advanced.
Great. So we'll give 30 seconds and then we will start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. I think we are ready to go.
Yes.
We have a good number. Start quiz. I put it since case sensitive. I hope it will work. So if you put part of the question, I hope that, inshallah. Let us see. Other answer, it's throw items, drawing item. Yeah, you see, throwing, again, it's unfortunately, it's not accepting. Again, colleagues, we ask about the topography, not about the function. Escape, attention, all these considered as a topography. It's just the shape of the behavior, how you describe this behavior without looking at the function of that behavior. Again, the topography, colleagues, here. The one who put part of the question, consider yourself right. Throw blocks on the floor or throw blocks. Yeah, throw blocks is right. She hitting to hit her. It started with the throw the blocks on the floor. Great. So, and we have some right answer. Here it should be the result. I don't know why it's not giving the percentage. Okay, thank you, colleagues who participated. And this again, it's just an engagement activity. Dr. Omar, understanding the developmental stage is also important. Yeah, agree with you. Without understanding and knowing what the students is going through, I will not be able to deal with them. This is an important part. Thank you, Dr. Omar, for highlighting this. Merrill, love, respect, communication, understanding. Totally agree with you. Those are the main, it's the key to decrease the undesired behavior. In addition to the, as you said, also intervention here, accommodation and modification strategies. All those are key. Building proper rules in the whole entire community of the school will reflect positively in our behavior, our students' behavior. Again, as you said, as you saw here, there is a lot of issues that students will be facing, and it can be end up with school dropout, and we don't want this to happen. And I remember it's an old study about the percentage in one of the Arabic countries. It was really a high percentage of school dropout because of unable to cope with the school, a lot of behavioral issues. There is no discipline, no control. It leads to this. I think the situation now is much better. Our teachers, our counselors are equipped with some of those techniques and strategies to reduce these issues. We will mention some of these in our workshop today.
One more, sorry, Dr. Muhammad, one more fact need all of us to know that feeling insecure in the school, it is also caused this big problem and drop the school, as you mentioned, which is globally, by the way, fact that unsecure, this is affect the students' attitude and to stay in the school, and may they act or behave in trouble or in problem way in order to drop the school. This should be also considered like reasons behind why students sometimes they not obey or they behave in this way.
Yeah, and this is what we are looking for by the end of Dr. Positive behavior support for the entire school to reduce those behavioral and academic challenges. If the school adopts a framework, I'm sure this will reflect positively on our students, and not only in the school, even outside the school, because this is what we are looking for. And I don't want to graduate students with a lot of behavioral issues, which will reflect negatively on my community.
Yes,
I am a believer again of functionality of our work as a teacher and counselor. Why we are here, why we are building those capacities. It's by the end to our community. So positive behavioral support is an important strategy that or framework that we can do, and there is a lot of frameworks under this framework. We will talk about the multi-tier supporting system, which is a great one. Behavioral support system focus on improving system settings and skill to create an environment that encourage positive behavior. Again, response to intervention is one of those great framework. You can call it response to intervention. You can call it multi-tier support system. Let's watch this video together. And if anyone like to give a feedback or comment about it, you are more than welcome.
When the behavior specialist, when it was my turn for her to observe my class, I realized my old system wasn't working. So I needed a more specified plan.
If a teacher has really concrete universal design for learning strategies in place, we are ready to begin looking at strategies that are individualized to a child to be supportive.
After identifying the behavior, hypothesize what factors the teacher can change to help make the student's school day more successful. If it is decided that the student needs individualized behavioral supports, the development of a behavior plan may help guide classroom staff and empower them to feel confident enough to attempt to address the behavior in the current context. Using the content you collected regarding the behavior and reflecting on the student as an individual, including their interests, strengths, classroom resources, and a teacher's style, you can then develop an individualized behavior plan.
So the first thing that we do is identify what's happening immediately before the behavior. Is the behavior usually occurring during seated desk work? Is the behavior usually occurring outside at recess? So understanding what's happening immediately before the behavior can help you pick those preventative strategies.
The first component is thinking about what strategies can be put in place to prevent the behavior. These strategies can be individualized to the student and based on the behavior that is exhibited and the underlying reasons the behavior is occurring.
So let's say the transition example is that a behavior is typically happening during a transition. You would want to be in proximity to the student, you would want to give the student a transition warning, and you would want to give the student a clear instruction of what to do during that transition. Once you have your preventative strategy, then you'll think about what to do reactively. So let's say you're in proximity to the student, you've given your transition warning and you've given a clear instruction, but the student still exhibits a challenging behavior during the transition. You need to plan for yourself what would be appropriate to do in that moment. Are you going to consistently have the student go back and try again? Are you going to, if you have a class point system, will the student lose points? And what are you going to do if the student does the right thing? How are you going to reinforce that behavior? Are you going to praise the student? Are you going to give them a sticker? Are you going to give them a hand stamp? Are you going to give them a point student? So it's important to have a plan for how to prevent, how to respond if the target behavior or appropriate behavior happens, and then what you're going to consistently do if the undesired behavior happens.
I have a hardcore behavior plan for one student, and I was kind of surprised of how catered it had to be, that it wasn't, okay, this is what you do in this case. It's like, well, you got to observe, you got to find out the background, and then you need to make specific plans.
Whenever we start targeting those more severe kiddos with a behavior plan, it's essential for a teacher or anyone else working with these kids to have a way to measure the progress or lack of progress so that you know it's time to change plans. The most helpful way to know if there's any progress is to take a baseline rate. The first thing let's notice what happens before the behavior is occurring, let's notice what tends to happen once the behavior occurs, and let's track how long this tantrum is occurring. So then when we go back to put something in preventative, and when we go back to put something in a way to respond, it should start decreasing over time.
I think, again, the input from someone like the behavior specialist and support. Once I opened up to the idea from my default philosophy, but I'm finding more and more there's kids that have no control of themselves.
The intent of these strategies is to put in the level of support needed for the student to successfully participate in the classroom expectations without needing to use the maladaptive behavior to have the needs met.
I think this is show how much is the importance of planning, observation, following up, putting the right strategies to support the students as much as we can, having colleagues observing our session and give the feedback and give some strategies and idea that help us to manage the session in the right way. I'm not sure if someone is raising his hand. So there is, I think, I saw Najati Yasin. So we'll give one or two, Dr. Ayman, Dr. Ghanem, just to listen to their feedback.
Yes.
Mr. Ibrahim, can you allow Mr. Najati to speak, please?
Need maybe to unmute yourself, Mr. Najati.
هنا Mr. Ibrahim should allow him first. Because yesterday I was having the option, but now it's not. It's not with me as an. Okay, sorry, colleagues. Maybe we'll check with the IT later. Multi-tiered system approach. We will talk about this in detail. It's a great. Again, don't consider me defending this approach. I like it. I'm a special educator. By profession and by degree. I'm having a PhD in special education, but I'm so supportive for inclusive education. And this system is not created for special education. It was created to support the whole system in the school to reduce the behavioral and academic related issues and to manage these issues while working with our students. We'll go through it. I will talk about it in a minute. So I know that we have around 30 minutes left, but we will try to cover part of this. There is a main key component for this approach, and even for the positive behavioral support, I need the leaders, I mean the principal and the vice principal, the HOD, to understand the concept of itself. If those people as the leaders in my school are not supporting me, I will not be able to implement any support system for the students. So I need them to be working with me collaboratively. Team-based implementation, it's not my role as a teacher alone. It's not the special educator, it's not the counselor, it's the whole team. We need to put our expectation for the school. What I'm looking for? It's a plan, so I have to build it right. I need to put some of those even for the class or for the school, for the entire school, then start working on those expectations. Putting in my mind that we are human, so we need the reinforcers, even for the adults, grade 10 and 12 and 11, they need these reinforcers. We need to give them, they need to be reinforced or give them some reinforcers. It's not necessary to be a small things, but smiling is a reinforcer. Give me 5 is the reinforcer. Tapping their shoulder is the reinforcer. Then monitoring and taking the message, the decision based on those outcome of our monitoring and involving the community. Those are the main key component for any successful positive behavioral support plan. Response to intervention, again, is not a special education initiative, it's for all our students. Actually, it came against one of the philosophies or strategies or criteria related to diagnosis of students with learning disability, but then it became for the whole schools. It's a great framework for organizing instruction for all students. It supports them in academic part and in behavioral part. It's not limited to students with learning disability at all. The problem of this framework that always people related to the learning disability, which is not right. It's the whole school system. A focus on intervention rather than what is wrong with the students. We are proactive here. We try our best to provide our students with the needed support. I like Meryl, I think she mentioned the love, the support, the caring. All these are important part in addition to strategies that we are using to empower them. So it will be easy and smoothly for them. Focus on solution. I'm not looking at the problems. I'm providing them with the proactive strategies, addressing the needs of all students having difficulties. Then they found out that there's 5% of the class or the school, they need additional or intensive support. Focus on positive outcome almost all the time. Reinforce all positive behavior. Try to reduce the undesired behavior by ignoring it if it is not affecting the teaching and learning process. Focus on all educator, not only special needs students or specific students in the classroom. This is for the entire class, better integration of programs and services for all children. And trust me, there is a lot of studies in the state supporting such framework, and it has a lot of positive impacts on the students, not only, again, people of determination. We are not talking about, Dr. Ghanem here, about special need. We are talking about the entire school system. We need to support them behaviorally and academically to reduce all these challenges. If we start, again, the earlier, the better. If we start earlier, we give them in the right time, we work with them, I'm sure we will not be facing any of these issues. So we are maximize students' achievement and reduce behavioral issues by using the RTI framework. There is some component. Dr. I'll try just to go through them quickly, and the presentation is there. We can also on the board and The Word document is available in the Word portal so our colleagues can access it. Again, it's a data-based decision-making, multi-tier level, as we will see in a minute. And it starts with the screening assessment. It's the screening that you are doing. Majority of our teachers and counselors at the beginning of the academic year, they will do the what you call it diagnostic assessment, and you see the level of the student. This is the screening that we do. Based on that, we have our data, and then we monitor our progress, and we distribute the students on a 3 level based on their progress, which we will see in a minute. So it's an early support system. It's a good system or framework, making us to take or advise or recommending us to take a decision before students reach to the fail. So we don't want the students to reach to the stage, or before students reaching to the undesired behavior, to attend to skill gaps early and to solve all these behavioral and challenging issues, to close skill gaps to prevent failure, to provide information regarding special education eligibility, which is the last stage. You see, it's not the when they develop this framework, they don't mean that they will use it for special education purposes. It's for the entire school system. Use all available resources to teach all students. Use scientific, again, sorry, I'll go through them because of the time limit that we have. Use scientific research-based intervention. Monitor your class. Conduct universal screening as a benchmarking. Use a multi-tier model for service delivery. Make database decisions, and then monitor the progress of the students. Those are the core principle of this program. Let's watch this small video, and then we will go through those 3-tier system in detail.
Here, we'll look at a 3-tiered model, often depicted as a triangle, as one example of how a tiered framework can be used as a school-wide strategy for instructing all students. All students will participate in Tier 1 instruction. At this level, they'll receive effective, differentiated instruction provided by the general classroom teacher as part of an evidence-based core curriculum. The evidence-based instruction offered at this level can be expected to meet the learning needs of 80 to 85% of all students. For students who don't respond adequately to Tier 1 instruction, more intensive interventions come into play. Tier 2 interventions build upon the differentiated instruction provided at Tier 1 by offering students more systematic instruction and interventions strategically designed to help them catch up in areas of difficulty. These interventions are usually delivered to a small group of students within the general classroom, either by the classroom teacher or by another team member supporting the teacher who has also been trained to deliver the interventions. Tier 2 interventions will be offered to the 15% of students for whom Tier 1 instruction was not sufficiently intensive to meet their specific learning needs. But here is a critical point. Students who receive targeted Tier 2 interventions continue to participate in general Tier 1 instruction. Tier 2 interventions do not replace the core curriculum, they supplement it. For example, Dennis has been selected to receive Tier 2 interventions based on the results of recent reading fluency data. He'll continue to participate in the 90 minutes of core reading instruction that is provided to all students in Tier 1 each day. But in addition, he'll spend another 30 minutes per day receiving targeted reading instruction at Tier 2. Under RTI, his opportunities for learning and for catching up to his classmates will have been extended. We've saved the most intensive interventions available for the small percentage of students who still lag significantly behind their peers in making academic gains. Tier 3 interventions supplement the previous tiers by providing the most intensive evidence-based interventions delivered to individual students or in very small groups. Again, the intensity of instruction at this level increases. The size of student groups is reduced, and their opportunities for direct instruction extended. Interventions in Tier 3 may be delivered by an intervention specialist or even a special education teacher. But again, these interventions supplement the instruction provided at Tier 1, not replace it, and students do not have to be identified as disabled in order to receive these interventions. Only about 5% of all students will require these intensive Tier 3 interventions. Of these students, only a portion may go on to require special ed services.
So you see from the video that like a small percentage of our students, they will need special needs services, but the rest of them, around 95% of my students, they will go through the I'll say regular teaching and learning strategies, differentiation, small group work, visual strategies, visual support, which really will help them to understand what's required from them. So this is again the one core and universal. We give a general information, differentiated instruction, universal design. Maybe we use different technique and teaching and learning and pedagogical strategies for all students. Then around tier 2, around 20% of them, they need more specific strategies, such as small group. We consider it as a supplementary. It's not, so we will not exclude them. They will take the whole teaching and learning and pedagogical approaches like others, but they need more intensive strategic planning. The rest of them will be the few, which is 5% always. Again, it's a supplemental or a supplementary intervention, but they need an intensive or individual activity, which we found that like I will not say one student, 5% of the entire school or entire class, they will go with this approach, in which our special educators need to give them more individual classes. I'll try to skip part of this, Dr. Ghanem. There are some advantages related to that. Core component, high quality classroom instruction, high expectation, assessment and data collection, problem solving. I see all these are scientific based framework, which really impact positively on our students if we follow it in a right and proper way after planning and implementing it. We'll see this again, small video.
If students aren't comfortable with who they are or with their behaviors in school, if they're not succeeding in those kinds of ways, then they're not going to succeed academically.
If the child is not behaving, there's a need not being met. Okay. My biggest goal is to make sure they're getting what they need.
If you ever have to make a decision, do you know what a decision is?
The approach for social emotional learning within the tier system mirrors our approach to learning in the academic system.
Just like for reading and just like for math, you need a solid core for behavior, for expectation, common language.
That's right, the difference between conflict and bullying. Anybody remember what the differences are?
The core instruction for social emotional in elementary, a big part of that is during morning meetings every day. That's the way that the school day starts.
You greet each other. You get to share what's happening in your life.
Share today. Put your thumb on your knee when you know what you want to share.
Our core instruction is Second Step, and that's a program that ranges from lessons about friendship to conflict resolution. And typically that happens once a week during morning meeting, or that could happen during their whole learning community meeting on Wednesday mornings.
Is bullying something that happened one time, or is it repeated? Repeated. Is there even power or uneven power? Uneven.
Then, just like academic tiered instruction, some students need a little bit more. Typically that tier 2 instruction comes from a guidance counselor, usually within a group setting.
I group them by need, not necessarily by grade. We have friendship groups. Some students, they don't know how to initiate a friendship. I have a grief group of children who have lost a loved one. I have a group for self-regulation. So they're giving strategies on what to do with their emotions when their emotions become very strong.
Okay. Do you ever have to make a really hard decision because you're so angry you don't know what to do?
Yeah. Yeah? I'm going to teach you today something that is going to help you relax. Okay, here we go. Gently close your eyes and take deep breaths. So the strategy was to give them a sense of calmness. Go to their happy place. Use that self-talk. Go on the cloud in your mind and feel how soft and comfortable it is. I find that sometimes pulling them out is not necessarily the answer. Pushing in is something that I started doing more so in the last 3 years. I wanted to transfer some of the skills that we learn in my office to my classroom.
Last one. Your turn.
If you can get them to do that enough times, they're going to feel that success in the classroom. They're going to feel successful learning.
Good job, guys. You're working hard.
Some students need more intensive support, and so then they would usually meet with a guidance counselor in Tier 3 more one-on-one.
For instance, a child is bullying other children. That child wouldn't be in Tier 2. Most children that are doing bullying have very specific needs, so you would have that child meet with me individually. I usually work really closely with school psych. The trajectory or the need may be an evaluation, then they're more likely to get involved with that child. Will you let me know right away so that way I can pull him in, because he did really well when we put him on that behavior plan last year.
Our student success team meets every 4.5 weeks, and we talk through what types of supports the kids need.
There are many people around the table. The classroom teachers are there, the learning community leader, school counseling is there, somebody from school psychology is there, an administrator is there.
Decisions are made of all of us as a group. So it's not like the teacher says, okay, I want them in Tier 2, put them in there.
It happens every time. Helping him see the pattern of the people that he sits with and the pattern of arguments and frustration that he has, because I think it's frustrating for him too. I honestly don't think that he really recognizes that pattern.
Is he, and I know that at one point Peter was refusing to take his medication.
But,
I would say he seems like yes.
Because there was definitely.
Let me stop here. We think something because again visiting some of the schools in our area here, and I hope that we see these meetings frequently between our team to have a solution or to take a decision about our students. In some schools, it's there. We see that there is a collaboration, there's an interaction, there's a regular meetings to check the needs of the child and to work with him and with his according to his needs, and to progress also to check the progress and monitor the progress and take a decision based on those data. It's happening. Otherwise, in some of the schools, unfortunately, it's an individual work. It's a teacher work. We are looking to have a collaborative work, Dr. Ghanem, between the team to reflect positively in our students. So again, those some of the questions that we ask ourselves: what is the behavior? When, where, how often it's happening? How long it has been happening? What is going on when the behavior is not happening? High percentage, small group, or just a few students engage in this behavior? What has already been tried? So those are some of the questions we put in our consideration while we are dealing with the response to intervention. Coming to one of the important part of our paper, and again, sorry for the because we have a limited time, so we have to skip some of those activities. ABC is one of the great tools. I hope our counselors, teachers, familiar with such approach. We need just to know the antecedents, then the behavior, then the consequences of this behavior. So we will be able to solve those issues. Consequences will help me to find the proper strategy to solve those behavioral issues. We have example here, Dr. Ghanem, antecedents. Teacher gives students a direction to write his name. Behavior: students scream and hits teacher. Sequence: teacher moves away from students and task demand is withdrawn. So this is the consequences of the behavior, and which will lead later if the teacher do the same to maintain this undesired behavior, and it will affect the whole class, not only the students themselves negatively. The other example is teacher gives students a direction to write his name. Students write his name. Teacher reinforce or praises the students, which will guarantee that the students will repeat the behavior because he was already reinforced with this behavior. Any comment, Dr. Ghanem, on this before going
actually,
to
this is a great example. Yes, as you mentioned, we need to put in our mind what caused the behavior and what are the consequences in order to recognize the situation and the time which the behavior happened. Then easy for us to modify and to deal with the situation. Teachers, counselors agree with us and with you totally about the importance of these antecedents and the events happen before and after the behavior. We need to be careful and pay attention to all these consequences. Yes, I agree with you.
And those are the basic consequences of any behavior: reinforcement versus punishment.
Yes.
When we reinforce, we are looking to increase the desired behavior. And I'm sure majority of you familiar with the 3 areas that behaviorism working on. They work on increasing the desired behavior using the reinforcement strategies, which we'll talk about it in a minute, reducing the undesired behavior using the punishment, the 2nd-degree punishment I'm talking about. And the 3rd one is shaping, in which they shape the new behavior. So positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, both are increasing the behavior. Positive punishment, negative punishment, both are decreasing the behavior. We have here a game. I'm not sure we have a time for it. What do you think, Dr. Ghanem?
I think just 2 minutes to get some feedback and see how our colleagues here.
I hope they are also familiar with the difference between both of them, but let's start. Will not take time, inshallah, for this. Students receive a sticker for each homework submitted. The student's homework submission percentage increases. The motivator was positive punishment, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, a combination of 2 types of reinforcement. We'll answer one of them.
This is like just an example.
Time's up, and it's a
yes,
positive reinforcement through colleagues. Thank you. I don't think so. We will do the other one. So excuse me, we will leave this one. And Sarah, congratulations. Those are some strategies, Dr. Ghanem, that always we are talking about to increase the desired behavior: task analysis, modeling, Bermack principle, which we'll share a video about it, shaping, token economy, all these good strategies to be used with our teacher. And again, those need more, I think by itself, it needs a workshop to run, right?
Yes, right. Each one actually, yes, need a workshop, what kind, different types of, but yes, you are right. And by the way, it should be, as you mentioned, to one important point, should be planned very well and need to understand what exactly match our students' personality and culture and type. Then if we use the right one in the right way with the right students, I agree with you that we can reduce and decrease the most of the behaviors we unwanted or cause difficulties and increase the one for sure.
I agree with you. And I like a comment from, I think, Ms. Labiba about the cultural differences. I agree with you totally. Like here in UAE, we have more than 200 nationalities. So this will also affect, but we need to understand each other. We need to build this capacity of dealing with other, Ms. Labiba, because if we don't create this common understanding, we will be having an issue. I'm a fan of diversity, but I'm a believer of inclusion also. Diversity is good, but we need to practice more, a lot of inclusive activities between our team. Just quickly to prime this video about Bermack principle for our colleagues to get the idea about it. I hope it will work.
This is one of the most famous laws.
Outside to reading. In order to get him to read more, his mother tells him that if he reads for 15 minutes, he can play outside for 20 minutes. In this situation, Parker's mother is using a high probability behavior, playing outside, to reinforce a low probability behavior, reading, which illustrates the Premack principle. The Premack principle was developed by David Premack in 1965. During that time, psychologists were focused on behaviorism and were studying instrumental conditioning, which involved attempting to change behavior by tying it to certain consequences. For example, rats might be taught to press a lever for a food reward, or they might be taught to avoid a lever by getting a shock when they press it. As instrumental conditioning was being studied and developed, psychologists looked to define What made something an effective reinforcer? Some psychologists considered food to be highly reinforcing because it satisfied a biological need. However, Premack took issue with this. In looking at experiments in which animals received food rewards, he noted that the animals were food deprived. Thus, they were highly likely to engage in behaviors that would lead to eating. Instead of looking at how a reinforcer satisfied a need, Premack suggested that we look at the probability that a response will occur. In doing so, he developed the Premack principle, which can be stated as the opportunity to perform a high probability response after a low probability response will reinforce the low probability.
Great. So,
Yes.
like simply about the principle, yep. And those are the strategies for decreasing the undesired behavior: extinction, timeout, response cost, overcorrection, differential reinforcement, fullness. Both will be like a second-degree punishment strategies to reduce those undesired behaviors. Some of the strategies Dr. Ghanem to deal with, but again, we will go through them. I'm sure our colleagues familiar with.
Yes.
Model ideal behavior, let students help establish guidelines, document rules. Rules is an important, trust me, colleagues.
Sure.
If we build the rules in the right way, we shared from the beginning of the not academic year, in each class, so they need to understand that there is a rules, and we can use the visual strategies to make those rules highlighted in the right way. Sorry to say that. I noticed some of the classes in which the rules are fixed behind the door. So when the door is open, no one is seeing the rules at all, which is not right. It should be clear, it should be communicated with the students. They should know those rules so they will be able to follow it. Avoid punishment in the class. We don't punish students. We try to focus more on the positive aspects and in reinforcing those desired behavior. And trust me, the undesired behavior will disappear. Reinforcer is an important. Use nonverbal communication. It's a great tool. Build excitement for content and lesson plan. Use technology if needed. Consider peer teaching, peer evaluation, even peer assessment. Address the undesired behavior quickly. Don't let it to take go to intense and be serious issues. Try to solve it from the beginning. Those are 20 classroom management strategies and techniques. Model ideal behavior. Let students help establish guidelines, document rules, avoid punishing the class. Again, some repetition, but you will find these in the reading material, right? A group contract, the behavioral contract, it's one of the great tools that we can follow using the token system. If it needs, the counselor can make an interview. Dr. Nafis mentioned yesterday, individual counseling, group counseling, peer all these are important part to put in our consideration while we are dealing with our students. Non-verbal cues, this is a rule. 7%, 38%, 55%. The non-verbal, the body language, it reflects. The example that I give you for the PE teacher, totally, it was 100% non-verbal, and it reflects positively on the students. We need to foster belonging with the class norms and how we deal with our students. So sorry for unable to run the video. Final thoughts. Again, we need to put in our mind, it's just a behavior. It's not a personal.
Can be changed.
Behaviors are learned. So what you see is the results of risk factor within children, past learning history. There's an issue before. A key reached to me in grade 3 having 1, 2, 3, 4 behavioral issues. It doesn't came like this. There is a background. It was there in the previous, it's the way of dealing. It was reinforced negatively, and unfortunately, there's a lot of these issues happening. Because of that, always we are saying the early stage is the most important stages. Research continues to demonstrate the most effective strategies are instructional based. always put in your mind this strategy: both step back and smile. Always be always positive. I always mention to my students in the postgraduate diploma and Master of Special Education that we run through our programs and the Master of Education Leadership, make it fun as much as you can. If you don't make it fun for them, they will not like it. It will be an issue for them and they will not enjoy it by the end. So you need them to enjoy the teaching and learning process. If they are having fun while you are teaching them, trust me, I hope that you noticed one of the scenes in the previous video, how much all students really were attained to the teacher. How they are, even some of them was looking at him in this way, opening his or her mouth, that they are really thirsty for knowledge and for having to be engaged in his in her class. This is a game, actually, it's for the response for intervention. Do we have a time to do it, Dr. Ghanem? I think maybe we can.
I think they can maybe do it. Let us see if they have some questions or comments before we finish. What do you think? I think can be.
There is, let me see if there's a questions. Oh, no worry, Mr. Nagati. Yep, so we will just two questions, Dr. Ghanem. Let us make it quickly. As we said, there's a multi-tier system, and we have three main tiers. The first one is the general one, in which we give differentiated instruction. We give our teaching and learning for the all students, then which is around 80% of them. Then we have 15 to 20% of them. They need small group work. They need more intensive activities, and then the last 5% they need more individualized planning. So let's try to make it together, colleagues. If you are familiar with it and you get some idea from the video. So all students receive effective instruction. This is in which tier, 1, 2, or 3? I will observe the chat. All students receive an effective instruction. What do you think, colleagues? Dr. Ghanem, what do you think?
I think that it is in number 1.
Number 1, great. Okay, the second one, again, I will select all students receive a brief assessment. Yes, thank you, Ms. Narom Bam. Again, it's a number 1.
Yes.
All. When we are talking things about all students, it means that we are in tier 1, using differential instruction, using universal design, using different pedagogical approach for all students, and include formal assessment for special need. What do you think, colleagues? Here, we reach to the level in which we need a formal assessment here.
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Nirobam, thank you.
Yes, true.
Targeted small group instruction is often used. In tier 1, we give general teaching and learning pedagogical approaches. In 2, yes, Khadija, thank you, Khadija. In 2, we give targeted small group. Thank you, Dr. Smith, thank you, Niroboma again. Sorry if I'm saying the name wrong or I pronounce it wrong. Serves the fewest number of students. Serves the fewest, yep, you are right.
True.
All are right, yes. Identify students who are struggling academically. Identify students who are struggling academically. Try again. It's with a universal screening. Delivered within initial tier, instruction is insufficient to promote adequate progress. Delivered when initial when instruction is insufficient. Yes, 2. Correct. Inadequate instruction is eliminated as a reason for low performance. Inadequate instruction is eliminated as a reason for lower performance. I think it's 3. Sorry, there is something wrong. It's in 1, as you mentioned, Sarah. Thank you, and Dalia. Consistency provides individualized instruction. This is clear, I think. Yes, dear. Great, colleagues. And the last one may be delivered by a reading specialist, paraprofessional, general education teacher, or other trained personnel.
2.
Great, great, colleagues. All well done. And thank you all for the great interaction. I'll go through the. I will just. Sorry, just allow me. Okay. I'll stop sharing, and then we'll go through the questions. If we have some of those. Mr. Najati, no worries. Mr. Najati is having an issue with the mic, so no worries. There's a question: how we can do proper identification and ensure behavior management in an online learning platform. The mode of delivery, it's not affecting the way of planning. I know we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of challenges during the online, but again, at least this is my perspective. Also, I'll keep it for Dr. Ghanem to give his
I agree with you, yes.
And maybe also Dr. Smith and Dr. Nafis, they can share their experience with this. But again, delivery mode, it will not affect my identification and planning for those behavioral strategies. I can use a lot of technology tools to reinforce the positive behaviors. We have Kahoot, we have Slide, we have Mentimeter, we have different posted, like the different type of those technology apps that we can use to reinforce the positive behavior and reduce the undesired behavior. But we need to put something in our mind that we need to put something in our mind that we need to listen to our students. I'll give you an example that happened with me in one of the observation session, and look at the reaction of the student. Student, she was prepared and she wanted to answer the question, and each time she opened her camera to participate and engage, and unfortunately the teacher is not looking at her. So you know what, by the end, she closed the camera. At the beginning, before closing the camera, she put her hand like this, and she was really upset, show that she is upset, and then she switched the camera off. So we need to put this in our consideration when we are dealing with online things related to our when we are dealing with our students. Mr. Mustafa, I cannot join the course and find the file in the portal. If you can communicate with the email, Mr. Mustafa, with us, so we will guide you to solve this issue. All colleagues, if you find any issue with the portal accessibility, please send us an email to Mr. Anand or to myself. I can put my email now in the chat, or I'll add it with the Word document tomorrow, Mr. Anand and my email. So we'll be supporting you and providing you with the access to the portal. I think the 5 reasons of students divided into 2 groups, gifted students, suffering students. Mr. Ayman is putting the email. Mr. Ibrahim, I registered for your community portal and nothing. No, if you registered already, you have an access. You need just to go to the EDU 2030 BC3. And please, if you also have a concern, just communicate with us through email, and we'll try to help and support. Any question? I also again saw there's some colleagues raising their hand, but unfortunately I don't have the option of allowing you to talk. I hope Mr. Ibrahim would ask to allow Suhana to talk. It seems that he is not with us now. Okay, colleagues, thank you for your engagement and being with us all during the session. I hope that you benefit from this session. It was a great pleasure having you tonight with us in this session. Tomorrow will be our last session with Ms. Rama Menon. It will be also another great session, I'm sure. Career counseling, it's always a concern and issue that our counselor ask about, and they need to know a lot of information about it. So join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. To listen to our great guest speaker, Ms. Rima, about school career counseling. Have a nice evening, and thank you for all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Ghanem, thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Session was brilliant.
Thank you, Dr. Nafis. Thanks a lot. And we try to finish it within the time.
Exactly.
More
Actually,
than this time.
there was so much of information, and this subject can go on and on.
Yeah, agree with you, Dr. Nafis. But what to do? Time limitation always is there.
Very true, very true. In fact, challenges that we face in HCT, like, it's very different from, I guess, what school counselors experience. So inshallah, maybe another session and another time, and we can discuss this.
As I told you, by December, we will have the special and inclusive education professional development certificate. And this one will be more specialized, talking about different issues related to special education and inclusive education settings, inshallah.
Great. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening.
You too, dear. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, doctor, I'm gonna close down the webinar.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.